The Prelude by William Wordsworth. Book 9. Oh, sweet it is in academic groves, or such retirement, friend, as we have known in the green dales beside our Rotha's stream, Greta or Derwent, or some nameless rill, to ruminate with interchange of talk on rational liberty and hope in man, justice and peace. But far more sweet such toil. Toil, say I, for it leads to thoughts abstruse. If nature then be standing on the brink of some great trial, and we hear the voice of one devoted, one whom circumstance hath called upon to embody his deep sense in action, give it outwardly a shape, and that of benediction to the world. Then doubt is not, and truth is more than truth. A hope it is, and a desire, a creed of zeal by an authority divine sanctioned, of danger, difficulty, or death. Such conversation, under Attic shades, did Dion hold with Plato, ripened thus for a deliverer's glorious task. And such he, on that ministry already bound, held with Eudemus and Timonides, surrounded by adventurers in arms, when those two vessels with their daring freight for the Sicilian tyrant's overthrow sailed from Zacynthus, philosophic war led by philosophers. With harder fate, though like ambition, such was he, O friend, of whom I speak. So Beaupuis, let the name stand near the worthiest of antiquity, fashioned his life, and many a long discourse, with like persuasion honored, we maintained. He on his part, accoutred for the worst, he perished fighting in supreme command upon the borders of the unhappy Loire, for liberty against deluded men, his fellow countrymen, and yet most blessed in this, that he the fate of later times lived not to see, nor what we now behold, who have as ardent hearts as he had then. Along that very Loire, with festal mirth resounding at all hours, and innocent yet of civil slaughter, was our frequent walk, or in wide forests of continuous shade, lofty and overarched, with open space beneath the trees, clear footing many a mile, a solemn region. Oft amid those haunts, from earnest dialogues, I slipped in thought, and let remembrance steal to other times, when, o'er those interwoven roots, moss-clad and smooth as marble or a waveless sea, some hermit from his cell forth strayed, might pace in sylvan meditation undisturbed, as on the pavement of a Gothic church walks a lone monk when service hath expired in peace and silence. But if e'er was heard though unseen, a devious traveller, retiring or approaching from afar, with speed and echoes loud of trampling hoofs, from the hard floor reverberated, then it was Angelica thundering through the woods upon her palfrey, or that gentle maid Erminia, fugitive as fair as she. Sometimes methought I saw a pair of knights joust underneath the trees, that as in storm rocked high above their heads. Anon, the din of boisterous merriment and music's roar, in sudden proclamation, burst from haunt of satyrs in some viewless glade, with dance rejoicing or a female in the midst, a mortal beauty, their unhappy thrall. The width of those huge forests, unto me a novel scene, did often in this way master my fancy, while I wandered on with that revered companion. And sometimes, when to a convent in a meadow green, by a brookside we came, a roofless pile, and not by reverential touch of time dismantled, but by violence abrupt. In spite of those heart-bracing colloquies, in spite of real fervor, and of that less genuine and wrought up within myself, I could not but bewail a wrong so harsh, and for the matin bell to sound no more, grieved, and the twilight taper, and the cross high on the topmost pinnacle, a sign, how welcome to the weary traveller's eyes, of hospitality and peaceful rest. And when the partner of those varied walks pointed upon occasion to the site of Romorantin, home of ancient kings, to the imperial edifice of Blois, or to that rural castle, name now slipped from my remembrance, where a lady lodged, by the first Francis wooed, and bound to him in chains of mutual passion, from the tower, as a tradition of the country tells, practised to commune with her royal knight by cressets and love beacons, intercourse twixt her high-seated residence and his, far off at Chambord on the plain beneath. Even here, though less than with the peaceful house religious, mid those frequent monuments of kings, their vices and their better deeds, imagination, potent to inflame, at times with virtuous wrath and noble scorn, did also often mitigate the force of civic prejudice, the bigotry, so call it, of a youthful patriot's mind. And on these spots with many gleams I looked of chivalrous delight. Yet, not the less hatred of absolute rule, where will of one is law for all, and of that barren pride in them who, by immunities unjust, between the sovereign and the people stand, his helper, and not theirs, laid stronger hold daily upon me, mixed with pity too, and love. For where hope is, there love will be, for the abject multitude. And when we chanced one day to meet a hunger-bitten girl, who crept along fitting her languid gait unto a heifer's motion, by a cord tied to her arm, and picking thus from the lane its sustenance, while the girl, with pallid hands, was busy knitting in a heartless mood of solitude, and at the sight my friend in agitation said, "'Tis against that we are fighting." I with him believed that a benignant spirit was abroad which might not be withstood, that poverty, abject as this, would, in a little time, be found no more, that we should see the earth unthwarted in her wish to recompense the meek, the lowly, patient child of toil, all institutes forever blotted out, that legalized exclusion, empty pomp abolished, sensual state and cruel power, whether by edict of the one or few. And finally, as sum and crown of all, should see the people having a strong hand in framing their own laws, whence better days to all mankind. But, these things set apart, was not this single confidence enough to animate the mind that ever turned a thought to human welfare? That henceforth captivity by mandate without law should cease, and open accusation lead to sentence in the hearing of the world, and open punishment, if not the air be free to breathe in, and the heart of man dread nothing. From this height I shall not stoop to humbler matter that detained us oft in thought or conversation, public acts and public persons, and emotions wrought within the breast, as ever-varying winds of record or report swept over us. But I might here, instead, repeat a tale told by my patriot friend of sad events that proved to what low depth had struck the roots, how widely spread the boughs of that old tree, which, as a deadly mischief and a foul and black dishonor, France was weary of. O happy time of youthful lovers! Thus the story might begin. O balmy time, in which a love knot on a lady's brow is fairer than the fairest star in heaven. So might, and with that prelude did begin the record, and in faithful verse was given the doleful sequel. But our little bark on a strong river boldly hath been launched, and from the driving current should we turn to loiter wilfully within a creek, howe'er attractive, fellow voyager. Wouldst thou not chide? Yet deem not my pains lost, for Vaudracour and Julia, so were named the ill-fated pair, in that plain tale will draw tears from the hearts of others, when their own shall beat no more. Thou also there mayst read at leisure how the enamoured youth was driven, by public power abased, to fatal crime, nature's rebellion against monstrous law. How, between heart and heart, oppression thrust her mandates, severing whom true love had joined, harassing both, until he sank and pressed the couch his fate had made for him, supine, save when the stings of viperous remorse, trying their strength, enforced him to start up, aghast and prayerless. Into a deep wood he fled, to shun the haunts of humankind. There dwelt, weakened in spirit more and more. Nor could the voice of freedom, which through France full speedily resounded, public hope, or personal memory of his own worst wrongs, rouse him. But, hidden in those gloomy shades, his days he wasted, an imbecile mind.